today I'm going to show you one of my favorite mods. I've been waiting on them for about 7 weeks. I didn't record anything yesterday, but I'm going to kind of show you what I did in prep work and waiting on them to arrive. So let's get started. Alright, so back here what I did was I took off the back fender and took all the plastic, the inner plastic out so that it would match the front. Underneath here, whenever I pulled this stuff out, I had to separate this stuff, and it comes out pretty easy. All you have to do is, once you pop these little rivets out right here from the back side, they just squeeze together and it pops out. And then you do that all the way around, pulling a little bit of pressure on it. And then once this thing comes off, all you gotta do is, these things on the inside are plastic welded. It's pretty easy. You just give it a little bit of a tug and they start separating. What I like to do is put my hand inside of it once it starts going, and then I'll kind of lift up on it and pop those rivets out, and it'll separate. And then right around the edge here, you get to cut all the little tabs off. Then what I did was I cut the inner fender out, the plastic inner fender. I wanted to keep some protection so that it didn't get a bunch of mud in here when we're off-roading. So I took these out, I drew on it with a Sharpie, came back and cut it, and left in as many of these clips as I could, the holes for the clips, so that it wouldn't rattle in there. And then zip tied some of them and made my own holes inside the inner fender so that it wouldn't flop around when you're driving on the highway or whatever. Whenever I installed everything back in, I taped everything off and then went and got some rubberized underbody sealant so that it kind of helps, one, it looks a lot better, and two, it kind of helps with the dirt and mud and rocks getting flung up in there. Right here, I went ahead and took the plastic extension off this bumper. There was a bracket in here. Once you separate all this, a whole bunch of screws, you got to cut the tabs off, much like you did on the fender. Cut the tabs off of this thing. So in prepping for this, I wish I would have took some video of this to show you guys kind of how I separated the fenders. It's pretty simple though. You take the screws out, there's some screws in here. There's two actual body flanges that go on right here that you only use on the factory fenders. They stick out just a little bit. I went ahead and bent those down, and I used that same grinder with the cutoff wheel on it, and I chopped them off as close as I can without damaging the paint or anything on the body of the Jeep. If you look close here, you can kind of see where I cut them off as close as I could without damaging anything. I left these two because these two will bolt up to your new mounts from American Adventure Lab. And then I took the fender off, which is the same as the back. You'll take all the screws out of the front. There is two screws underneath here in the front, another one, and another two up here. And then you'll use the same plastic clips, squeeze them together, and then kind of put pressure on it. And then as the fender comes off, you just work your way to the front, and it just separates pretty easy. And then when I take the fenders out, first you want to take out the light in the front. So that's what I did. Then what I did was I took this and started from the front. It's the easiest part to separate, and pulled it up. And once it started separating, I did the same thing I did at the back. Is I put my hand underneath between the fender and the plastic and just started running my arm all the way inside of it, lifting up on the inside and busting what is welded here. If you look on the other side, these are all plastic welded to the fender. It's really simple. Just a little tug and it starts coming apart. So this is what the fender looks like after you separate it. It's just the shell. This is the American Adventure Lab high-rise fender kit for the JL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this on here first. This is my first time seeing this. We just got this in a box today. So I'm going to mount this on here first before I put the fenders on, so that I can run the wire how I want to, so it's not sticking out. It's a 13 millimeter bolt on top and bottom. So in addition to cutting all these tabs off right here on the edge, you gotta make sure that there's a tab on the inside, it's a little loop tab, that you cut that off prior to putting these on. And you'll put the light on obviously first, and then you'll put the fender on over the top of it. Now, it does come with an optional bolt to stick right here so these fenders aren't flexing like this. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. Ooh, the hole is gonna get in there. Ready? So I like to make a small hole in there from the back side just to know where the hole's going to be at for this fender piece. This will kind of give me a guide where I need to put the hole at. Alright, so we got this side done. I'm going to go over to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Alright, we're all finished. Let's go check them out. That's it for this video. If you like the video, hit the like button below and subscribe.